And with the Als Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal's football, presented by our good friends over at Royal Retros, where you don't need a time machine in order to get some sweet, sweet throwback merch. Head over to royalretros.com, use the code Flightdeck at checkout, and you will save 10% off your entire order. I'm Tim Capper. You can find me at X or Blue Sky at Repact. That's REPPACT.
Greetings from the mortal plane. Emperor's light be upon you. I'm Cliffy D. You can also find me on X and on Blue Sky over at Cliffy D.
Second week in a row. I have no clue.
Me neither, actually. I just happened upon it. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. I'll go with that. So,
Oh, okay.
saying easy,
Okay.
man. I mean, being committed to this bit is hella hard. Let me tell you. I mean,
It's a bit.
but I am committed. God damn it.
There you go. There you go. As everybody can hear and or see, Tim is so much better this week. I think if you saw Flight Deck Live, you saw that I was better too. So that was not that was not easy at all.
No, and I'll bet during Flight Deck Live, you wish you had those numbing agents to make you not think so much about what a terrible, terrible effort it was this past Saturday in Winnipeg.
Oh yeah, rubber mallet. I could have used a rubber mallet or something like that, or I don't know. But yeah. But then again,
maybe.
it goes from a game that meant everything to basically a glorified preseason game. And you know, the kicker about it is we didn't come away unscathed. That's the thing that I think that really hurts the most, besides the rubber mallet and getting your wisdom teeth pulled out. That's what really hurt. You know, and we're still 2 days into practice, and we still don't know.
Yeah, you weren't the only one walking wounded last week. Unfortunately, yeah. Man, it you know, it's funny for what essentially was, as you like to call it, a glorified preseason game. My word, I mean, you see injuries in preseason all the time too. Sometimes you get someone that's lost for the season in a innocuous play in a preseason game, and that sucks. I mean, that you're basically fighting for a job, and for something like that to happen to you is just, you know, it's gut wrenching. But imagine playing this last game that you basically have to play, and you know, there was a time when you thought that this game was going to be for all the marbles, so to speak, in you know, in your playoff standings. But you know, ultimately with Hamilton beating Ottawa, yeah, it just kind of, I don't want to say it took the wind out of the sails necessarily for the Montreal Alouettes, but you knew at that point that it was going to be, you were not going to get the same Alouettes team that you've seen over the past few weeks. And that's fine. That's, you know, you come to accept that. It's obviously you'd like to see the win, but at the same time, you don't want to see anybody getting hurt, especially like the major stars getting hurt. Unfortunately, that still means depth players can get hurt. That means other people that you are going to rely upon for this playoff run are going to get hurt as well. And unfortunately, that did happen in Winnipeg for both teams. Actually, both teams suffered significant injuries, and yeah, it's kind of interesting because the thought was, okay, well, it's more than likely these two teams are going to face off against each other in about 7 days at Percival Molson Stadium, and you know, sometimes you just can't prevent injuries. You can't prevent what's going to happen. What's going to happen is going to happen, and sometimes you just have to cross your fingers and hope for the best. Whether you're, you know, Chris Streveler, who dealt with he left the game in a horrific fashion. Mustafa Johnson, Lawal Ugalak, Stevie Scott also did not finish the game. Jesse Gibbon, who's replacing Donnie Ventrelli, who also got hurt in Ottawa. I mean, like, just what a time for the injury bug to start biting. It's brutal. Let's just leave it at that.
Oh, it's true. Owls lose 19-10. But you know what? You were dead on, and I'm glad. And maybe you manifested it. Maybe it was some sort of inception type of thing. But the Owls and Coach Moss did the right thing and did not start Davis Alexander. You know, for us, it's, you know, we want to keep a streak alive. I have a comment about that, by the way, just for clarification. But they did the right thing. They did the right thing. Davis didn't start. Yeah, I know, and I'm sorry. Uh, again, I've mentioned it before in shows past. MBT is walking wounded. He's walking wounded. Again, something is up with the elbow. I would not be surprised if MBT has his arm this week in ice. I wouldn't be surprised because we've seen it before for a couple of games. Um,
Let's just hope that he's not
you know,
called into action, because what we saw this past Saturday from him was not good. let's just let's just
no,
leave it at that. It was not good. And again, I'm not mad in the sense that because this game ultimately meant nothing in the standings, meant nothing as far as whether or not the Alouettes were going to host the Eastern Final versus the Eastern Semifinal. As we stated, that fate was sealed Friday night, thanks to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So you're right, starting Davis Alexander and exposing him to the possibility of getting hurt in a game that meant absolutely nothing in the standings, that would have been horrific, even more horrific. So yes, you put MBT out there because he's your best option, quote unquote. But quite frankly, he did not play like the best option. You keep talking about the elbow, and yes, he's made the grand show of being on the sidelines, heavily taped up with his elbow like wrapped up in gauze and everything like that. And okay, fine, you're trying to sell that, and I get it, but my God, a lot of what we saw from MBT this past Saturday, I think a lot of it was mental more than anything else. I mean, he was just not making very good decisions, and I'm sure the elbow was playing a factor in it. And in which case, why put him out there? I mean, you may as well have had James Morgan back out there. You may as well have given Shea Patterson more reps, even though, yes, you don't want him getting injured either because he's become so valuable in short yardage. But
mm,
my word, I mean, I'm sorry to say this has to be the last year for McLeod Bethel Thompson. I think going into this offseason, regardless of what happens, whether the Montreal Alouettes win the Grey Cup or get eliminated or whatever happens this postseason, Danny Machocha really truly has to take a look at the backup quarterback position, and he's got to make a change. Like, I get why he made the move that he did, and we've discussed it ad nauseum, so we're not going to do it again. But I, I think McLeod Bethel Thompson has to call it a career. He just doesn't have it. He may have had it once upon a time, but he clearly in the year of our Lord 2025, McLeod Bethel Thompson simply doesn't have it anymore.
no, no, and it's. I'll just reiterate, and then we'll go on. As you say, we did. I think somebody. I think another veteran quarterback is going to be looked at this offseason. I really do.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. It makes total sense. I definitely think you need a veteran presence, someone who has played in this league, for at least a number of years, someone who understands how important it is, someone who can fit into this system. Because let's face it, you know what you have with Davis Alexander without question. As I said, Shea Patterson has done a remarkable job this year in short yardage, replacing Caleb Evans. Whether
yeah,
Caleb Evans comes back or not is at this point a question mark. I hope he does, because I definitely think he's got talent, and he was finally getting the opportunity to showcase it until once again injury bug bites in a big way for him. Whether or not he comes back is also, as I said, a question mark. So we'll see what happens there. But in all reality, the Montreal Alouettes need a true QB2 that has experience and can fit in the system. And I'm sorry to say, MBT really at times felt like a square peg going into a round hole. It didn't fit, and it felt like they kept trying to make it fit and doing everything they can to try and make him into something. And his game in Saskatchewan notwithstanding, the game in Calgary notwithstanding, hell, even the game in Toronto notwithstanding, MBT has shown spurts of brilliance, but not nearly enough to say, yeah, that's my guy. That's the guy I want, backing up Davis Alexander. I'm sorry to say, it's just not him. It has to be somebody else in 2026.
yeah, and I was reading a story from somebody in the local media, and a word was used to describe MBT, which I had never heard of. I actually had to look up the word, and I thought my vocabulary was pretty good. The word is lugubrious. You ever heard the word?
Lugubrious.
lugubrious.
Wow,
It's
I'm gonna
pertaining
bust out
to
the thesaurus for that one.
obviously it's pertaining to MBT. And for those who don't, because I didn't, looking or sounding sad and dismal. And I was like, oh crap, that's right. That's spot on.
Uh, you know what? That's apt, I'd say, in a lot of circumstances. I mean, more often than not, when I see MBT on TV, he's got that deer in the headlights look, like he just, got caught doing something he shouldn't do, or a car's about to hit him. Kind of, he has that kind of look about him, like you can really see the whites in his eyes, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, lugubrious though that's quite the word.
I
I'm
know.
I'm,
I was
I'm
like,
I'm
damn, I
impressed.
add that to my add that to my vocabulary. Um,
Like, you
so
lugubrious SOB.
there you go. That's it. So,
Maybe, yeah.
by the way, to my quick aside when I was talking about Davis Alexander, and I don't remember I mentioned this on Flight Deck Live. If you watch the show and you did, well, let me know. If not, I'm going to tell you again, anyways. Uh, we did get some clarification. I think it did. We did get some clarification on Davis Alexander's. We were talking about his streak and stuff like that. With the playoffs coming up, etc. Davis Alexander is 11-0, as we know, in his career, to start his career as a quarterback. It's a regular season record. It's a regular season streak. I've heard it. We were watching, I think, a podcast the other night where it was said, if Davis loses, his streak will be over. Technically, no, it won't, because
Technically,
like stats in the like I guess it's any pro sports. It's broken up into regular season, playoffs, and championship.
Mm.
So if it does come to the point, if Davis does lose sometime in the postseason, his streak will continue in 2026.
right?
Whether
And there may
he
have to be,
runs the gambit this year, wins 3 straight, or whether something else happens. Either way, in 2026, he will still be 11-0 to start his career.
so if he loses, does that mean we have to put an asterisk next to his 11-0 record? And I guess, or just clarify that yes, he is 11-0 in the regular season as a starting quarterback in the Canadian Football League.
It hasn't been used yet. True. No asterisk needed. If that's the case, I don't think any asterisk will be needed.
Because
But anyways,
it's just in the simple fact that people are going to say, well, he lost the Grey Cup, or he lost in the Eastern Final, or, well, hopefully not, lost the Eastern Semifinal, which is not going to happen. But but people are going to say, well, he lost the game. He's not undefeated. Like, technically, no, he's not. But I mean, it's, as we stated, it's how it's presented in the record books, so to speak, is, yeah, he currently is 11-0 as a starting quarterback in the regular season. But it continues on. But again, all Davis has to do is just not lose. Easy, right? He's made it look easy.
Exactly. Let's give these guys some accolades, because some of them do deserve it for the game in Winnipeg. As we mentioned before, MBT, which is absolutely atrocious. 17 of 34 for 182 yards and an interception. I think I did that also in Flightdeck Live. Stevie Scott, before he got hurt or pulled, because I don't think because he's still practicing. If I'm not mistaken, he's not on the injured list, right? For
Well, and
practice.
I think he was hurt at one point. They did say he was wearing a brace on his knee, and I think it could just be a simple, he may have, something may have flared up, and just as in the interest of keeping him ready for the playoffs, they may have taken him out. Like, I guess, call it like load management, if you will. But he did not finish the game, and as you stated, like, he is listed as having a knee injury, but still in practice. So the severity of it, I'm going to assume it's not so terrible if he's able to practice. But once again, we'll know more later on this week, but I think it was just a cautionary measure to take him out of the game, and a smart one too, because, well, we'll talk about this when we talk about what's happening at practice thus far this week, but
Right.
playoffs are coming up, and you need all your you need to put your best foot forward. And Stevie Scott, without question, has shown what he's been able to do in relief of Sean Thomas Arlington and Travis Tice. But whether or not he gets to actually play in the Eastern semifinal, whether it's starting running back or maybe one of those two guys that I just mentioned is cleared and ready to go for the playoffs, we'll find out later this week. But that is an interesting wrinkle. And yes, I think the Alouettes did the right thing. If he's not 100%, don't put him out there. Don't risk him to further injury or making things worse. Lean on Tayon Jones. Was it Jones or Tayon Evans?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, Evan, yeah. But either way, what's funny is that both Stevie Scott and Tyon Evans had 7 attempts and 31 yards.
Mm.
Receiving wise, it was Tyson Philpott who led the team with 66 yards. Charles Rambo 35, Austin Mack 35, Speaker with 25, newly mint. Sorry, sorry. I was gonna say the need for Snead did not play. Stevie Scott had 11. So, you know, no touchdowns, no offensive touchdowns. I think it was the second time this year that that's occurred. I mean, the pluses for this game obviously was Jose Maltos Diaz, who set a team record for most made field goals in a season, breaking the 2009 record that was held by Damon Duval.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also indicative, though, of not scoring enough touchdowns because the Owls were last in the league in touchdowns.
Mm.
But they were doing so well in every other aspect when it comes to defense, because I think they're in the tops when it came to, if not close to, with turnovers, the plus minus, sacks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As we've been saying all season, that it kept them in the game. But if you don't score, there's only, as we've seen already this year, there's only so much that a kicker can do.
And again, this also speaks to the remarkable difference of this team when Davis Alexander is behind center and when he's not behind center. I mean, it's crazy to think that one person can make such a seismic difference in a football team, but when it comes to the Montreal Alouettes, it really is. Like when big play DA is behind center, you're going to see touchdowns. You're going to see incredible plays. You're going to see, just an offensive juggernaut in action. Whereas when he's on the sidelines and someone else is at QB, you don't see any of those things, or not nearly often enough. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you want to stop this Montreal Alouettes team, the best thing to do is get Davis Alexander off the field, or whether it's injure him or just force a 2 and out or anything like that. Like, if he's on the field, he's going to find a way to score as much as possible. But to me, like if anyone were to ask me, like, how are you going to beat this Montreal Alouettes team? Keep Davis on the sidelines by some way, shape, or form. Because if he's not out there, this team ain't scoring touchdowns. This team is not getting itself into field goal position. This team is not doing what it takes to win football games. When Davis is not out there, it's a completely different story.
Sacks went to Joshua Archibald, Marc-Antoine Dequoy, and to Sean Oakman. We'll talk about some of the stuff because obviously the All-Star teams were announced today. And we want to give a big sorry, the CFL, thank you. And this game's done. The regular season's done. The Owls ended up at 10-8 in the regular season, and then they're going to be hosting the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at Percival Molson this Saturday, November 1st at 2 p.m. Change from 3, just in case if the Jays Dodger series goes 7, but it will still be the same time no matter what.
Yep.
And like before, we have a transit strike. But I don't think, like before, I don't think it's going to stop anybody from coming. I don't think so. I think that place is going to be packed. Enough so I know I'm getting ahead of myself, enough so that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers were practicing with very loud noise during practice this week. So,
Yep. Which is smart. I think that's what you have to do. You have to know you're going to be going into a very loud, boisterous environment. Just like if the shoe was on the other foot and the Alouettes were going into Winnipeg to play, knowing full well that stadium, who by the way, this past Saturday had their 14th straight sellout, which is absolutely incredible. I mean,
mhm.
especially when there is a very good possibility that this game was going to mean absolutely nothing in the standings, and sure enough, it didn't. Still, the fact that they had yet another sellout is absolutely incredible, and a crowd like that, especially if this was a playoff game, if it was the Alouettes crossing over to face the Blue Bombers in the Western semifinal, the level would be ridiculous, and the Alouettes would be doing the exact same thing the Bombers are doing and practicing with like loudspeakers, close to the field and making as much noise as possible, doing everything they can to sort of replicate that extremely loud noise that you're going to hear. And folks, I've been telling you for the longest time now. I mean, when Personal Molson Stadium is packed with fans, they bring the noise, they bring the energy. So if it's obvious that Winnipeg does not think people are going to sit on their hands throughout this game. Like they know that people are going to be making noise. No air horns. So I know a lot of people are already starting to talk about the air horns. Like no, not necessary. This crowd doesn't need air horns to make noise and be a general nuisance to Zach Caleros and company. So they're doing the smart thing and being prepared by trying to simulate it as much as possible, because this coming Saturday, Molson Stadium is going to be rocking. It is going to be loud. They haven't officially announced it being sold out yet, but I imagine it's very close. And I'm definitely looking forward to a very boisterous, raucous environment on Saturday.
Last thing we'll say about the game itself before we move on is we got to give at least a shout out itself to Chris Strevler, and because we've talked about those weird plays where people can get hurt, non-contact. That's exactly what happened to Strevler.
Mhm.
Don't like seeing anybody go down, and it looked. You knew right away.
Yeah.
It seems to be bad. We know he's been at practice. Don't know if he's in a brace or if he's in a something, but no, but don't wish that upon anybody. But Strev's had an issue recently with knee problems, and it's just like as the as the Alouettes have, our quarterbacks. Don't get me started.
Mm.
Don't
No,
get me started. So
it's true, and it's tough because last year the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the Grey Cup could have used Chris Streffler, but he suffered a knee injury, and I don't know if it was the same knee that got injured this time around as it was last year. But in any event, the likelihood of Chris Streffler playing in this postseason is slim to none. I mean, I don't think he's been officially ruled out for whatever reason, but it was not a pretty look by any stretch. And that's, believe me, Alouettes fans can appreciate how Winnipeggers must be feeling, because I mean, Zach Caleros has been dealing with concussion syndrome, for most parts throughout the year. Terry Wilson, who stepped in for Strevler, looked okay, but not fantastic. I know Marc-Antoine Dequoy had a field day playing against him, so that was something else we got to give respect to, is how well Marc-Antoine Dequoy has been playing as of late, but especially against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. There's something about being in that stadium, at Princess Auto Stadium, that really seems to work for MAD, because I think this is his fourth interception in 2.5 games in Winnipeg. There must be something in the air. There must be something about that place that just really appeals to him, because he seems to bring that stadium seems to bring out the best in him. Kind of like MBT playing in Mosaic Stadium in Saskatchewan. There's just something about being in Winnipeg, I guess, that just lights a fire under Marc-Antoine Dequoy. And once again, playing another outstanding game. But yes, back to our original point. Losing Chris Strevler, this is a lousy way to potentially end your season. And it sucks. We've seen it with our quarterbacks this year, the injuries that they've been suffering, and definitely feel for Strev on this one.
Yeah, for sure. Before we talk about the stats and the awards and stuff like that and preview next week, I want to remind everybody that we are on social media. You can find the podcast on all the, and I'm sure and all of the podcast aggregates that are out there. But if you want to check out the entire history of our podcast, all shows are now available over at www.alouettesflightdeck.ca. We're also available on socials over at X and Blue Sky. It's over at Alouettes FL Deck. Facebook over at Alouettes Flight Deck Pod, and Instagram and YouTube over at Alouettes Flight Deck. Speaking of YouTube, make sure you do subscribe. Make sure you do hit the like button, and also make sure you do check. Make sure your bell is set to let you know when we do go live. Because why? Well, you'll find out when the shows are available, whether it be the audio version or the full broadcast version, or our post game show Flight Deck Live, where Cliff and I will be live, win, lose, or draw, sometimes on site, sometimes not. Uh, no matter when the Alouettes play, and we again for that itself, we want to thank everybody who's latched on to Flight Deck Live because it's really really fun to do, and I think we've actually uh, it's kind of inception. 'Cause I think some of the other podcasts that are out there are kind of doing it too. So, uh, but we're
We
humble.
may have started a trend. So yeah,
Yeah,
we're just happy to be part of the post game landscape. I know certain people may or may not see the validity in our post game show, but we do, and others do as well. So yes, we definitely appreciate each and every one of you that tunes into Flight Deck Live this Saturday, without question. Whatever happens in the Eastern semifinal, Tim and I are going to be live after the game, sharing our thoughts, hopefully talking about a great Alouettes win. But regardless of what happens, we will be there. So make sure you're tuned in, hit that notification bell, make sure you're subscribed, following, all that good stuff. Make sure you're with us this coming Saturday for Flight Deck Live.
exactly. Also, if you're looking to rep the podcast, well, you can head over to our shop, and that's over at flightdeckgear.ca. I won't be able to get anything in time for the semifinal, but hey, whether it be part of the if you know line, or part our logo merch. Please head over there, and we really appreciate anybody who does support us that way. Also, want to thank our presenting sponsor, uh, Royal Retros, where if you go to royalretros.com and use the code FlightDeck at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order. And also our affiliate sponsor and our partner when it came to our pins, and which, by the way, I do have an update. We will not, unfortunately, have them unless something a miracle it comes about. We won't have them for the Eastern final. Excuse me. Well, we may have. We won't have them for the semifinal. Um, but we should have them for after that, whatever comes. But so stay tuned for that. So set 2.0 is going to be available, and we want to thank obviously Pinforce for joining us in being able to get these out to you. So if you go to pinforce.io, and especially if you like comics, they got a bunch of cool stuff, comic pins, Arena Football League pins, and other stuff like that. Head over to pinforce.io, use the code FlightDeck at checkout, and you will save 15% off your entire order. And that, by the way, that code is good for the rest of the year through December 31st. Okay. I just wanted to go over a few things. Is that a couple of things that we'd seen over the year, and yes, there have been some good and bad stuff. One thing I wasn't able to do before the show, Cliff, I wanted to see what the Alouettes, how many points they scored in games where Davis Alexander was our quarterback versus not. But I'll have that ready, and I'll put those out on social media. But I can say that you mentioned it before about the Alouettes being the team in the CFL with the least amount of touchdowns scored. They only scored 34 offensive touchdowns this year. Um, but what I thought was funny is that just like say like the defense was amazing this year. They only gave up 23.3 points this season, Cliff, and the Alouettes scored 24.7. That put them seventh in the league. Um, the other things I really wanted to point out were specifically um, total net offense that the team had this year. Second to last in the league with 5,929 yards. It was an average of 329.4 per season for the season. But again, with all the issues that we currently had, um, It is what it is. But surprisingly enough, Cliff, despite all that, did you know that the Alouettes are actually first in the league in first downs? You wouldn't think
Wow.
that.
Well,
You wouldn't.
again, back to the point that I made earlier, like how different this team looks when Davis Alexander is behind center. Now he's played 7 games this year, won all 7 games, and in those 7 games, uh, I think the lowest points for was in the 20s, like high 20s even.
Mhm. Mhm, mhm.
But one thing you do tend to notice is that yeah, Davis Alexander can move the chains, whether it's handing off the rock to one of his top running backs or finding his receivers downfield. You see a lot of first downs when Davis is on the field. So I guess I'm pleasantly surprised, but at the same time, maybe I shouldn't be that it's and truly it's him with that kind of production. I mean, yes, the other quarterbacks too did manage some first downs, but I mean, as I said, it's one shouldn't be so surprised that the Alouettes are first in first downs when you've got Davis Alexander behind center. I mean, truly, I keep talking about this. I feel like a broken record at times, but he really has changed the game in Montreal. Like his presence behind center is night and day compared to anybody else that steps behind center for the Alouettes. It's almost unfair, really, when you think about it. Like just the kind of production that he has been able to generate out of this team. And I think back to earlier this year, like before the season got underway, people weren't too sure, and they didn't know what to what was Davis Alexander going to provide the goods? Was he going to live up to the hype? I mean, last year he was 4-0 as a starter in relief of Cody Fajardo, and he looked really good, but can he sustain that? Can he truly be the man in Montreal? And then I think the simple fact that despite only playing 7 games, he is the team's nominee for most outstanding player. I think that says it all. I think that makes him unequivocally like one of one. Like he truly is something special. And you saw it when he was like, even though he wasn't playing, like he was on the sidelines, hyping up his team, trying to support them, trying to do everything he can to rally them and everything like that. Like he believes in this team. He believes in the players that are on this team, and he wants to lead them. He wants to be that guy that's going to grab them and take them to the promised land. And there's no question in my mind that he's going to do so. But to see what this team is like with him as their quarterback is remarkable. I mean, I can't say enough times just what a talent he truly is.
And this is the thing that I was sending on earlier this year. We're talking about second down conversion, and as I've said, and I really believe, and I think I got you on the train on this too, Cliff, is that how good our second down conversion rate is really does show how good of a game that we are having. We've gone through some highs and we've gone through some lows. I think this past week versus Winnipeg was one of our worst games of the season when it came to second down conversion. The Owls ended up being right there in the middle of the pack, Cliff. They ended up being at 46.8% on second downs. I can only imagine what that would have been. Maybe probably would have been closer to 50 because I don't think anybody was over 50 this year. Yes, there were 2 teams, BC and Saskatchewan, were over 50% on second downs. So I think if Davis had played for a few more games, I think that they would have been closer to 50% because we remember how good they were when those first 3 games of the year when Davis was under center and how well they were doing when it came to second downs. And lastly, 2 and outs. 2 and outs. The Alouettes this year, Cliff, only 30% of their drives ended in 2 and outs, and that was the 4th lowest in the league this year.
That is remarkable. I mean, that it's funny. There was a time when it just felt like this team just struggled defensively. I mean, the defense rarely a question, but offensively, there were times where they couldn't get things going. No matter who the quarterback was, no matter you know who was playing on offense, there was just. I remember a time when it felt like there was multiple 2 and outs in every single game. And this year, we're seeing more sustained drives. We're seeing more scoring drives too. We're seeing a lot
Mm.
more production and staying on the field longer. I mean, like as I talked about, like this defense is top tier without question. But you leave them on the field too long, they're going to get gassed. They're going to start losing steam. when Davis Alexander is playing, he stays on the field for a good long time. Unless he's scoring like an immediate touchdown, like a long bomb touchdown that he just stretches the field entirely and that's it. But more often than not, it's just a lot of just quick pace and just constantly moving the chains, but staying on the field offensively.
Yeah.
So no 2 and outs, which is remarkable to see. I mean, it really has made a difference this year. And it's funny, like this team is now 10-8, which is positive. They definitely have a winning record. And one can't help but wonder, like I think about the production that this team could have had Davis Alexander stayed healthy this year. I talked about early in like my early season predictions, I had talked about don't be surprised, and I think I did say with a caveat, if everybody stays healthy, don't be surprised if the Montreal Alouettes have 4, maybe even 5 1,000-yard receivers, just because of the sheer talent that this team has at the receiver position, as well as Davis Alexander just hucking bombs at people left, right, and center. Problem is, he missed several games, and as a result, the Alouettes were fortunate just to have 1 1,000-yard receiver. But
yeah,
again,
it's true.
It is what it is what it is. I mean, I'm still of the belief that you give him a full season healthy, Davis Alexander and this Alouettes offense could shatter some records. And that's what I'm looking forward to seeing in this playoff run, is for this team offensively to do some serious damage. And then when 2026 rolls around and everybody's back, everybody's healthy, raring, ready to go, once again, the sky is the limit. Like this team has truly got the potential to just be absolutely dangerous, to really set some records and just be a true juggernaut for years to come. But everybody's got to stay healthy. Like that's the key right there, is everybody has to stay healthy. I'm just thankful that right now it seems like everybody is, all the important pieces are healthy at the right possible time, which is playoff time. So as I said, we'll see what happens in this Grey Cup run, how far it goes and how long it is. But I fully expect to see this offense truly explode and have it starting this coming Saturday.
Yeah. One quick thing, because we're so positive on the defense, and we'll talk about the accolades that these guys, these well deserved, got today. That was announced. The Alouettes had 87 points off of turnovers. They were third in the league this year, Cliff, at +8, behind Hamilton and Calgary. Just as a note on Alouette turnovers, teams scored 100 points. So they're minus 12 there. And lastly, just one quick note. Just happens to be a kind of a nod to what's coming up this week versus Winnipeg. Als, as I said, we're +8. Winnipeg was second to last in the league at -11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because Winnipeg has been sort of the standard bearer for the Canadian Football League for several years now. I mean, 5 straight trips to the Grey Cup, and they're still very much of the belief that they can get there this year. And it would be interesting because if they do, that means they'll be the East representative, something they haven't done since I think 2001, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, sorry, 2007 was the last time the Winnipeg Blue Bombers played as an Eastern team. Even more interesting is the fact that if they do go to the Grey Cup, which is being held at Princess Audio Stadium in Winnipeg, they would not be in their own dressing room. They would be actually in the visiting locker room, which is incredible to think about, but that's the way it worked out this year. But they got to get there first. And I'll be honest, like when I think about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this year, in a lot of ways, a lot like the Montreal Alouettes, in that they've had a lot of moments of brilliance and a lot of moments of what the F was that? Like, and at times you didn't know which Winnipeg Blue Bomber team was going to show up. I mean, they've got the talent. There's no question about that. They've got some absolute studs that, when they're healthy, when they're playing at a high level, are next to impossible to stop. And everybody's aware of it now. Like it's not a secret. Like a lot of people would talk about like Davis Alexander coming out of nowhere and becoming a superstar. Well, you knew what you were getting with Zach Caleros. You know what you're getting with Brady Oliveira, Nick Dembski, Willie Jefferson, and a lot of these guys are true bona fide superstars in this league. But there have been times where all those guys have looked absolutely phenomenal and absolutely terrible. And the fact that you don't know week to week which one of those players is going to show up makes me wonder just where this confidence level that Winnipeg fans have, other than the fact that they're diehard, fans and they love their team. I get that, but I don't know how you look at this Winnipeg team and think, oh yeah, without question, this team's going to the Grey Cup, 100%. Doesn't matter if they don't play in their locker room, whatever. They're gonna be the Grey Cup. You watch and see. And hey, I love the confidence. I love that Winnipeg fans truly believe in their team and thinking that the path of least resistance to the Grey Cup is to go through the East, which again is a bit of a knock, if you will, to the Montreal Alouettes and also to the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who, by the way, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have basically dominated this year. Okay, I get where this bravado comes from, but there's a big difference between the regular season teams and teams in the playoffs. I mean, teams in the playoffs, they didn't get there by accident, believe it or not. Truthfully, if Winnipeg's going to go to the Grey Cup, they're going to have to get through Montreal, which good luck as far as I'm concerned. And if you do, then you got Hamilton, who, again, regardless of how you feel about them, they've got talent. They've got a lot of horses that are desperate to make a Grey Cup run as well. It's not going to be so easy for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to get back to Winnipeg and play in front of play in their city for the Grey Cup. So I look at this game and it's going to be a very interesting matchup for so many reasons. But I look at both of these teams, Winnipeg and Montreal, and I won't say they're carbon copies of each other necessarily, but I do see a lot of similarities in both for different reasons. And ultimately, it's going to be who comes out on Saturday and plays their best football. The team that does that is going to move on and take on the Hamilton Tiger Cats next week.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we're do you want to continue just since you've kind of led into it, stick with what we're talking about with the playoff game for Saturday, and we'll talk about the accolades before we finish the show? You want to go and do it since we're already at that point?
No, let's maybe I kind of got off track a little bit here, but
It's okay.
no,
Okay,
let's
but okay, to
let's
move
give
on,
let's give these guys their flowers.
yeah, 11 Alouettes got named to the CFL All-Star team. 11. With all honesty, I didn't expect that. I think you have the list in front of you. And do you have the breakdown of how many times that they've been nominated? If not, I can get it for us.
Actually, as a matter of fact, I do. So let's get started with again 11 players, which is absolutely phenomenal. I believe Hamilton and Montreal have the most nominees in the East, and I think Saskatchewan has the most nominees in the West, which is again speaks to what kind of overall team all three of them have been this year. So for the Montreal Alouettes, his first selection as an All CFLer. It's so weird to say that. What was wrong with All-Star? Honestly, what was wrong with All-Star? I like All-Star. I mean, is it because it's too American sounding?
Rogers Center in Toronto still Skydome, which I still do. So you know what? If you want to call it a CFL All-Star, you stick with it, Cliff. I'll go with it.
You know what though? Like, but it's like calling the Edmonton Elks their former name. It's like calling the Washington Commanders their former name. Yeah, I get it. People don't like it, but you know what? Times change, people change, evolution, and that's what this is as well. It's all CFL, so I'm gonna do my darndest to stick with all CFL. You have to. You have to. Okay, with his first ever nomination to the All CFL team, wide receiver Tyler Sneed. No surprise, as I talked about, the Alouettes' sole 1,000-yard receiver, and that's without his roommate Davis Alexander throwing him the ball all the time. I mean, I thought there's no question in my mind. I thought Sneed could easily reach 1,000 yards this year with Davis throwing the ball to him. But the fact that he was able to reach 1,000 yards with MBT, Caleb Evans, James Morgan, and Davis Alexander throwing him the ball, that's pretty outstanding. I mean, truthfully, I think he really should have been the most outstanding player. Not again, no knock to Davis, but Tyler's been in every game practically, and or actually, well, I think there was one game he didn't play last week. So okay, not technically every game, but practically in every game, Tyler Snead was in and has proven himself time and again. Like Cahoon 3.0 has just been simply marvelous this year, and this is definitely a well-earned nomination. Next up, let's take a look at this offensive line. We got not one, not two, but three members of the O-line being represented. Justin Lawrence, who is the Alouettes nominee for Most Outstanding Offensive Lineman for the CFL Awards. Definitely well-deserved. I mean, we've talked about J-Law and how highly we think of him. I mean, the dude is just he's just so steady. So he's the quarterback of that offensive line, and for the most part has done a very good job this year in protecting the quarterback as much as possible. It's not perfect by any stretch, but Justin has just been an absolute rock in the center of that offensive line. Beside him is Pierre-Olivier Lestage. I really like how he plays. He plays with an edge. Sometimes, though, that gets him in trouble. And unfortunately, he's had a couple of boneheaded penalties that, quite frankly, I could have done without. And, one of these days, it's really going to bite him in the butt. But for the most part, though, this guy really does produce. And that's one of the many, many reasons that you find him on this list. One of the tackles this year, Nick Callender, who we've also talked about quite a bit about just being that protection for the blind side. He's definitely done such a great job in helping to protect quarterbacks as much as possible. I mean, he's just a beast of a man, and just he shows up. He's got that hard hat lunch pail mentality. Like, he just goes in, does his job, goes home, kind of thing. And there's something nice about that. There's something nice about the fact that this offensive line, when they're on, when everybody's clicking, they're an absolute beast, and it is absolutely phenomenal to see. I want to go back to this offensive line in just a little bit, but I'm going to continue with this list. But we got some exciting news as far as offensive line goes. That we'll get that in just a bit. Now, let's talk defense, because this is where the Alouettes truly have shown all year round. And I'm excited to read off these names, because all of these guys have just done absolutely phenomenal things in 2025. Starting with Isaac Adeyemi Berglund. I mean, enough said. I mean, if you've been watching Alouettes games this year, you know what this absolute beast of a man's been able to do. And I truly think losing Most Outstanding Canadian last year at the CFL Awards to Brady Oliveira truly lit a fire under him. And he had said to me at the time, I want more than just Most Outstanding Canadian. You wait and see. I'm going to be Most Outstanding Defensive Player, Most Outstanding Canadian, Most Outstanding Player. Like, you started rattling off. Like, I'm like, dude, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be you. And my God, the fact that this year he is the Alouettes nominee for Most Outstanding Offensive Player or Defensive Player is truly phenomenal. He has been everything that we have said and more. And I absolutely love to see what this guy does on the field day in and day out. Sean Oakman, this absolute unit of a human being. I mean, when it comes to sacks, batted balls, just being an absolute menace. I mean, this guy, trying to throw over him, good luck. I mean, your quarterback just, you really have to hit the moonshot if you're going to try and throw over the head of Sean Oakman, because 6'9", 300 plus pounds. I mean, this guy is an absolute unit on the defensive line, and alongside of Isaac Adeyemi Berglund, just been an absolute terror for opposing quarterbacks this year. Next, we have Tyrese Beverette. Do I really have to explain why? I mean, Tyrese Beverette, hello. I keep saying it all the time.
Let's say, just say it, Cliff. Just say it.
You can't forget the Bev. Never, never, never. And funny enough, last year he was the Alouettes nominee for Most Outstanding Defensive Player, and should have won as far as I'm concerned, but has not missed a step this year. He still looks like the absolute dominant force that he was last year, and it's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle a little bit, I find, with just how amazing Berglund's been and how amazing a lot of these linebackers have been. And but Tyrese just finds a way, man. He finds a way. I mean, even last week, like the touchdown that Terry Wilson scored for the Bombers, that shouldn't have counted, because that You called it like it was almost like he hit the RKO on Terry Wilson,
Yes!
like just the somersault into the like wow, just what an absolutely amazing defensive effort from Ty. I mean, just he truly is. He's top two and he's not number two. Let's put it that way. Tyrese is
And he had
just
over 100 tackles, defensive tackles again this year.
there. You go. I mean, he practically does it all. Like I said, you can't forget about him. There's no question. Lining up next to him, Darnell Sankey. I mean, this guy hits like a truck. I mean, he's truly been that outstanding force. I mean, from the moment he got to Montreal, this guy, all he does is produce and cause terror and just an absolute beast. Same thing, quarterback sacks, interceptions, fumble recoveries. I mean, he also too comes in with that hard hat lunch pail work ethic and just he's so dangerous. And that's what I can't help but admire, just the way he approaches game day in and day out. He just shows up, wrecks havoc, goes home. And I absolutely love it. And I truly do feel for anyone who gets sacked by him, because even just, me going to say hello to him, like, well, I give him a bro hug, and like when he hits my back, like, ooh, I feel it right there. Like, just, oh my God. Like, and that's him being nice to me. I think he likes me. I hope he likes me, but imagine like if he didn't like you. Imagine if you're an opposing quarterback and you're trying to score on him and he's not having any of that. Can you imagine how hard those hits must hurt? Oh my word. Like wow. That's why they have protective equipment, folks. But yeah, Darnell Sankey just absolutely, without question, belongs on this list. Next up, defensively, Wesley Sutton. You can't stop Wes. That's his Twitter, his Twitter handle, his IG handle, and it suits him absolutely perfectly because he is truly unstoppable. I mean, what a force in the secondary. He just he's done such a great job over the years. He just gets better year after year after year, like a fine wine. He just gets better every day. The work he's done also too in mentoring Lorenzo Burns and bringing him up to that level is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, like that, this secondary, I've talked about how at times they can look a little spotty, but when everybody's clicking, simply none better. And Wesley is a huge part of this. I mean, I'm glad to see that he's finally getting his flowers. He's finally getting that recognition. Okay, technically he has received it 2 other times before, but so important for people to realize just how important of a player Wesley truly is on this Alouettes team, this defense. I mean, I would almost consider him like the quarterback of the secondary, if you will. Just, I know technically that's the safety, and Marc-Antoine Dequoy does a very good job of sort of, directing traffic, if you will. But I mean, Wesley just does those things that just, people don't realize just how important he is until he makes an outstanding play, until he snags the ball out of a receiver's hands, or a pass knockdown, or anything like that. Like any of those things that just shows just how killer this defense is. Wesley Sutton is a very, very much an embodiment of that. Now we go into special teams. Tyrell Richards, technically a linebacker, could be in that category, but where he makes his money, his bread and butter is on special teams, and so excited for him. This year he's been healthy for the first time in a long time. I think arguably since he's been a Montreal Alouette. I think this is his first full season where he's been able to play in every game and has looked tremendous. I mean, he's just doing all the things right when it comes to special teams. I mean, just he's a beast. I use that expression quite a bit with these guys, but I mean, truly, Tyrell is playing like he has found that next level this year, and I'm absolutely happy to see it. I'm glad he's staying healthy, doing everything right. I mean, he embodies how important special teams are. I mean, a lot of rookies sort of have to make their bones, if you will, like you put in their time, pay their dues on special teams. And that's exactly what was the case with Tyrell when he came into the league in 2022. But he has truly embraced that role and made it his own. And I'll go ahead and say it. There are a few better in this league right now than Tyrell Richards. When he is on, he truly is something else. And I'm so thankful that one, he stayed healthy, and two, he's found that extra gear, if you, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, he's found it, and definitely not someone you can take lightly by any stretch. And last but certainly
By the
not
way,
least,
I want to make one statement about Tyrell. He
go ahead.
has 30 special teams tackles this year. 30. He tied Walter Spencer from 2007, who also had 30, and he was just one shy of a team record of 31 that was set in 1998 by Hensey Charles. So,
Oof,
Ty, man, I mean, just that's the names. If you've been following the Alouettes long enough, you know those names, and to be
yeah,
up there ranked with them, phenomenal.
yeah, that is rarefied air, and for Tyrell, I mean, outstanding. There's just no like, if anyone's deserving of it, all CFLer, without question, is Tyler Richards. Last but certainly not least, Joseph Zima, the Aussie punter. Oi, oi, oi. But when this guy kicks the ball, I feel sorry for the ball, quite frankly. I mean, it's got to hurt. The ball's got to be in pain, and those moonshots that he can hit, those coffin corners, my word. I mean, you know what? It's funny. Like, obviously, every single time, whenever he scores a rouge, I'm sure he's kicking himself. It's like, that should have been coffin corner. And I'm sure he does everything possible to make that coffin corner happen. And when it does, it is a thing of beauty. I mean, he just plants it just perfectly. But every
Almost
once in
did
a
it in
while, it does
Winnipeg.
kind of roll almost. And sometimes it just kind of rolls into the end zone and out. And, I'm not saying that he's the reason why they're changing how a rouge is going to be scored going forward. But one can't help but wonder. I'm sure even he's going like, oh my gosh, come on. Like, you're killing me here. But Joseph has been an absolute dynamo at punting position. Does a great job holding the ball for Jose Matos Diaz to kick all those field goals. Again, one of those guys that you don't necessarily notice. I know people like to give the gears to kickers and punters, and they're not real players. But no, without question, Joseph Zima, without question, is a true player. Punters are people too, folks, and Joseph Zima is definitely something special for this Alouettes team. And so those are your all CFLers for the Montreal Alouettes.
Question to you: anybody that you think that was missed? Because I loved having Zima there, but what about El Hombre? What about him?
I mean, setting that field goal record, the team record for field goals, that's pretty outstanding. That would be all-star, quote unquote, material, or all CFL material as far as I'm concerned. But I guess they had to show some love to other kickers as well. And that's the thing, is that there are some pretty outstanding kickers in the Eastern Division as well. I mean, Liram Harulahu. I mean, he's definitely done some pretty outstanding stuff. I think Sean White in the West has done great stuff as well. Mark Leggio, even for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, has had himself a pretty phenomenal year. So it's hard. I mean, yeah, in a perfect world, I think Matos Diaz would definitely be representing this team as well, this all CFL team as well. I guess the simple fact is that, well, you can't nominate everybody, unfortunately. And yeah, some people, I'm sure a lot of people are going to say, well, how come Marc-Antoine Dequoy wasn't nominated? How come Davis Alexander didn't get the nod? I mean, again, if you're going to make him the Alouettes representative for most outstanding player, shouldn't he be in the category of all CFL? Again, had he played an entire season, without question, he'd be head, shoulders above everybody in the quarterback position in the Eastern Division, but he didn't. So
The kicker went to
it's got to be
Liram
tough.
Harulahu. So,
And it is what it is, unfortunately. I mean, again, I don't think it takes away from the absolutely phenomenal season Jose has had by any stretch. And if anything, maybe that'll just motivate him. Like, okay, I guess 58 field goals was good, but I'm going to have to clearly crack that 60 mark in order to be considered for all CFL in 2026. So, hey, if that's what it's going to take to motivate him, if that's what you need that bulletin board material, I guess, for being snubbed from the All CFL team, hey, have at it, Jose, and anyone else who didn't make the cut. I mean, the fact that 11 Alouettes were nominated this year, I think really does speak to just how well this team is put together, how this team is built, and how these players have grown and become the absolute forces they have become. I mean, as we talked about, Hamilton and Montreal, number one, number two in the Eastern Division, most represented. I mean, I truly think that says it all. And that's not to say that they're only terrible players on the Ottawa Red Blacks or the Argos. And I guess they have, maybe there must be you got to nominate some of those guys, but
Thinking about it, Ottawa got 3 players. Ottawa got 3.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think wasn't every team represented this year?
Yes. No, I don't know if there's like a
So
decree, like a sort of unwritten rule that all the teams have to be represented. I'm not sure. I'm not, unfortunately, we're not part of that process of selecting players, but I think for the most part they got it right. And I think the players that were nominated are definitely well deserving of that accomplishment. So yeah, I think Alouettes Nation should be proud of those 11 players that were nominated, and definitely well deserved. I mean, whether you're a first time nominee or a multiple time nominee, it just goes to show that these guys are putting in the work. They're doing everything they can to make this team the most successful possible. And this is their accolades. This is their flowers that they're going to get for a job well done in 2025. So kudos to them. Definitely love everything for them. You know, they definitely do. All those guys definitely deserve their props, and they're going to get it this year at Grey Cup. That's truly how I feel.
what's funny, we just mentioned it, and, Ottawa had 3. Not every team had a representation. The only team that did not, Cliff, the Edmonton Elk. And
Oh,
I'm surprised. I mean, Ottawa had 3. I mean, I okay.
yeah. So Justin Rankin it wasn't an all CFLer.
Oh, it went to Diedrich Mills.
Wow. I mean, and again, this is, I'm sure it's hard because I'm sure there's only a certain number of players that can be chosen, but I mean, Justin Rankin definitely, I think
I know. I
he's
know.
shown him. Like if there was a decree they had to pick at least one player from every team, I mean, how do you not find a spot for him in some way? Like,
And Mills
my
was not
goodness.
unanimous. So maybe the other ones were for Rankin. Who knows? Who knows?
Okay, that's very true. That's, I think not too many players were unanimous, but the ones that were, I mean, without question. But yeah, wow, that's really interesting. So okay, I mean, I guess it really does speak to just how amazing it was to see these 11 Alouettes being named to the All CFL team. I mean, proofs in the pudding, folks. I mean, regardless of how you feel about this organization and the work that Danny Machocha does and the coaching that Jason Moss and his staff does, clearly the results are there. You may I keep saying you may question the methods, but you can't argue with the results. That says it all right there. 11 players on the LCFL team. Wow. Just truly outstanding. And I know this week we're going to find out the finalists for the Eastern and Western nominees for the CFL awards. And again, I
Friday.
fully expect to see a couple of Alouettes be representing for the East. I'd be stunned, quite frankly, if there wasn't at least one Alouette that's up for an award. They may not win it, but they should definitely be up for it. I mean, the players that were nominated, you can make a solid case for any of them for their respective position. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this Friday to see what the final nominees are. But I truly would not be surprised to see at least one, possibly two or more, as Eastern nominees for those CFL awards.
Sure. The Alouettes head into the game on Saturday versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the East semifinal. They did go 0-2, winless versus the Bombers this year. Of
Mm.
note, Davis Alexander did not start either of those games, so he is yet to face him as a starter in his career. The
Mhm.
Alouettes are currently a 5.5-point favorite. What's funny too, Cliff, considering that how often that these two teams were basically sharing the Eastern Division, this will only be the second time in Alouettes franchise history, and I guess we could say for Winnipeg too, that these two teams have met in the playoffs.
Mhm.
And the East final at Montreal in 2000, where they did win, and when they faced, and you mentioned it earlier, by the way, the East semifinal at Winnipeg in 2007. So those are the only two times at Cliff that these two teams have met in the playoffs. Which I looked it up and I could not believe it. I really couldn't. I mean, remember, playoffs, not Grey Cup.
Mhm.
Playoffs, not Grey Cup. Um,
Yeah, and even
does
that
that
too was
does that surprise you?
ah, you know what? I want it to be surprising, but at the same time, the fact that when Montreal and Winnipeg met for the Grey Cup 2 years ago, that was the first time in league history where that's happened. I mean, every once in a
Yeah.
while, you get a little stat like that that's just like, "What the hell? Like, how is that even possible in a 9-team league?" But sometimes these things just kinda work out like that, and I think this is another one of those cases. I mean, it's Winnipeg has never been a crossover team either, which is
Yeah.
a new wrinkle for them as well. Uh, I think in a lot of ways, though, I look at the history of the Alouettes being in the Eastern semifinal, with playing a crossover team. More often than not, they've been successful. But the last time that they faced a crossover team was Edmonton in 2019, and we know what happened in that one. Did not
Mhm.
end well for the Alouettes.
Oh,
It's always a concern when a Western
Trevor
team
Harris
crossover.
went off on a run.
He sure did. He
Was
was
it
surgical.
20? Was it 20 for 20 or 23 or 23? Something stupid like that. Something
20
like
of
that.
23, 3 touchdowns. I mean, he just like I said, he carved up the Alouettes like a turkey, simply put.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Could Zach
Um,
Collaros do that on Saturday? It's possible. I mean, if anyone's gonna do it, it's gonna have to be Zach Collaros. Well, as we talked about with, Chris Walby a couple weeks ago, this Winnipeg team lives and dies by Zach Collaros, and this Montreal team is familiar with him, having played him in the Grey Cup 2 years ago. I mean, the only difference is he's 2 years older now, and yes, he's gone through his trials and tribulations this year. I mean, when he's on, and he looks great. But you've said it in the past too. He doesn't always play his best football in November.
no,
And what is the date of Saturday's game?
November 1st.
November 1st. So, what does that mean for the Blue Bombers? They're going to have to rely on Brady Oliveira, who, when he came to Montreal earlier this year, taking on arguably the best defense of the Canadian Football League.
Hmm,
He had himself a day, uh,
yeah.
a big day. So I definitely think that Winnipeg's success is going to come at the hands and feet of Brady Oliveira. My hope is that this defensive line from Montreal, whoever it may be, because as you mentioned, Lawal Ugalak, Mustafa Johnson may not make this game, but whoever is playing on this D line is simply put going to have to stop Brady Oliveira. They're going to have to get through that O line in Winnipeg, and they're going to have to keep Brady Oliveira honest, which is not impossible, but sometimes easier said than done. As I stated earlier this year, and again, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the offense was completely sputtering against Winnipeg at home earlier this year. It's going to be a different story with Davis Alexander and company on the field, obviously, but this Winnipeg team is motivated. This Winnipeg team, I'm sure, is insulted they have to go on the road in order to try and get to the Grey Cup game. But stranger things have happened. I mean, just because no crossover team has ever made it to the Grey Cup, someone's going to have to be the first. And I'm sure Winnipeggers are thinking to themselves, why not us? Why can't it be us? Why can't we be the ones that do something that's never been done before? And that's a fair point. I mean, but again, they've got a tough road to get to. If they want to do that, they've got a tough road ahead of them. Playing
Hmm.
in Montreal will not be easy for this Winnipeg team. I can guarantee you that. This is going to be a crazy loud game. I'm glad for their sake. I'm glad they're practicing with those loudspeakers because they're going to need it. They're going to have to master the silent count. They're going to. And it's funny because again, people are going to talk about, oh, it's such a small stadium, Percival Molson Stadium. Only a sellout is 23,000. Well, guess what? 23,000 loud, boisterous Montrealers can be practically deafening in the right environment. And I have a feeling that you will see that environment. You will hear that environment. If you're watching the game on TV, if you're not at the stadium and you're watching on TV, you're going to hear the crowd. You're going to hear Alouettes Nation lose their damn minds, especially if they can get to Zach Collaros. They can cause turnovers. They can stop Brady Oliveira in his tracks and just basically shut down this Winnipeg offense. If they can do that, you're going to hear this crowd, and it is going to be electric.
Yeah. You mentioned before about the injury report, and we at least have to talk about it because it is a thing that really is more important now. To be fair, by the way, to your comment about Mustafa Johnson earlier in the first practice this week in the post-practice scrum, Coach Moss did say if Mustafa could play, by the way, he's being listed as having a shoulder injury, that he could play even if he doesn't practice this week. We've heard it before. We'll see what happens at that time. The players who have not practiced yet this week have been Mustafa Johnson with a shoulder, Seontae Evans with a knee, Tyrell Richards with a back, Lawal Ugulak with an ankle. The other one is Daniel Oladejo, which he was on the 6th game, I think, if I remember correctly, earlier in the year. He was limited on day 1, did not practice today at all on day 2. David Dallaire, which we knew, Caleb Johnson also they have not practiced at all this week. Everybody else has practiced. Comes to, and this is an interesting thing because we've talked about earlier this year, Cliff, when it comes to, the return of Davis Alexander and what that meant to the team. I know that the teams have been able to go they've been able to get these guys to come out of the hangar, next man up. Well, who's showing up this week? Very possible that we will have not only James Letcher back, kicking, returning. We'll have STE back. The new look STE, by the way. If anybody happened to watch that post game scrum, his dreads are gone. I was like, who the hell is that? I was like, oh my god, that's STE. And the bowling ball, Travis Tice has been practicing all week too. So this could be a very, very different roster considering if Stevie Scott can't go. I would think I would not be the one. I would not want to be the coaching staff trying to figure out this ratio for the roster to this week. It's going to be interesting. But I think throwing STE back into the mix, having another Canadian there, might make things a little bit easier. But we'll check. We'll see on Friday what the roster is going to be. Obviously, we'll get kind of a clue of who won't be in there potentially after practice on Thursday.
And to that end, with some of the injuries as well, I talked about earlier Jesse Gibbon, who is replacing Donnie Ventrelli, who I believe has been practicing, but is also still there still is concern with his knee as well. So they could just be keeping him on a pitch count or whatnot, and just maybe
Ventrelli.
Yes,
they have him listed as an ankle.
Oh, ankle. I'm sorry, I stand corrected.
That's okay.
In any event, he again.
He went from limited to full today. So
that right there, that tells me a lot. That tells me just, if called upon, he'll be ready to go, which that's as far as I'm concerned, anyone who's listed as full in practice, essentially there's a very, very good chance that you see them in the lineup on Saturday. But Donnie Ventrelli went down to injury in Ottawa, as we talked about. Jesse Gibbon replaced him. He went down to injury in Winnipeg, and I don't know the severity of it, but he was walking around on crutches towards the end of the game. So, I mean, that could be pretty telling all by itself. However, this Alouettes team for this playoff run brought back a very important piece that will be on this offensive line. And I would not be surprised to see actually in the lineup on Saturday. And Tim, this piece is very important because let's just say he's got a knack for winning Grey Cup rings, or has lately. That would be one Landon Rice, who, yes, won a Grey Cup with Montreal Alouettes in 2023. Won a Grey Cup last year with the Toronto Argonauts in 2024. So he could be lining up to get his third straight Grey Cup ring, but this time back with the Alouettes.
Mhm.
And I'm excited because, yes, he does have that veteran presence that is, I think, at times kind of lacking in this offensive line. I mean, he definitely has done a great job at tackle for this team in the past. Let's not forget, too, he is technically the last man standing from the Johnny Manziel trade. Incredible to think. Yeah.
I don't
Even
want to
when
think about
don't want to
it.
think about the trade itself, but I mean, the fact that of all the players that were involved in that, the name players that were involved at the time, Landon is he's the sole active player. Like everybody else has moved on from the CFL is remarkable. And I know I'm not counting the draft picks that Hamilton made as a result of that trade. I mean, you could count them technically, but I mean, for the actual name players that were involved in that trade, Landon Rice is
Yeah.
the last man standing, which is truly phenomenal. I'd love to get him on the show and talk about that because that is
Oh yeah.
that is remarkable to think about.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yes, very, very, very happy that especially too, a national offensive lineman. You know how important that is. You know that this offensive line is filled with Canadian players, and if Landon can get in there, be a ratio breaker, even. I mean, that is
Yeah.
that is the kind of thing that smart GMs do, especially this time of year, especially when you've got the type of injuries that the Alouettes have right now. I mean, losing offensive linemen and whether or not you get them back is only time's going to tell. But this was, I think, one of those moves that truly is a bit of a game changer for the Montreal Alouettes, and I am 1,000% here for it.
Well, you were saying, you talked about Jesse Gibbon before. At the same time that Landon Rice was signed by the Alouettes, Cliff, even though it was announced already that Jesse Gibbon has been transferred to the single game injury list.
Mm.
So, as you said, wouldn't be, I think Rice, come on. Come on. I mean, that's a hell of a story in itself.
It really is. I mean, I was disappointed that he did not stick around. Like when he he ended up in Toronto. And hey, listen, kudos to him for getting that Grey Cup ring last year.
Mhm.
Now he's back in Montreal, has a chance to go for his third straight, which is incredible. That in itself is the story. I mean, like, how many times have we talked about like certain players that have played in X number of games, straight Grey Cup games? I mean, it's not a massive streak, but this could be, if all things work out, Landon Rice could be playing in his third straight Grey Cup, and if he gets that ring, third straight Grey Cup ring, I mean, that's not easy to do, folks. I don't care who you are, I don't care
No.
what team you play for, but to get 3 straight Grey Cup rings is nothing short of outstanding.
100%.
I think actually the last, if I remember correctly, I think the last one to do it would be Andrew Harris. 2 with Winnipeg and 1 with Toronto the next in 2022.
You might be right. You might be right. I'm sure we brought once we see the game notes this week. I'm sure there'll be a lot of stuff that they'll put out. And
Yeah.
but dude, really, looking at all this now, all that's really left is to play the game. Saturday, 2 p.m. TSN, RDS. If you're listening to it on the radio, TSN 690, or I forget the station in French. I apologize.
98.5.
95. Yeah, thank you. So I was going to say Cassie, but they don't exist anymore, if I remember
No.
correctly. They used to,
No.
but yeah, it's all left is to play the game, and that's Davis Alexander's first playoff start in his career. Yes, he does come in having won 11 straight in the regular season. And it could be very interesting because if anybody remembers the look on Davis's face or how he was at the end of the game in the Eastern Final last year, I do.
Mm.
I remember seeing how dejected Davis looked.
That's one word
He
I
does
would
not.
use.
He doesn't want that this year.
No, I I too remember seeing that energy. Like he was vibing big time. Like I'm surprised he didn't like go threaten Jason Moss. Like you put me in this game, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. Please put me in this game. Like you could tell he wants it. He wants that moment. He wants the smoke. He wants to be the man. He wants to be the man that brings Montreal its 9th Grey Cup championship, and he's going to have the opportunity to do so. And I don't think the moment will be too big for him. I mean, it's easy to say like, yes, he was a part of the 2023 Grey Cup team as the 3rd string quarterback. He's right. This is his team now. This is his time. This is his opportunity to prove that he can be in that category, that he can be in the conversation of one of the elite quarterbacks in this league. And there's no question in my mind, he's going to do everything possible to not just get this win, but go and get the next one and the next one. He wants to be the leader of this team. He wants to be the man in Montreal. When you think about Montreal sports, I mean, yeah, trying to compete with the Canadians, I mean, it's almost a fool's errand, quite frankly, but you can tell that he wants to be spoken of in that same breath. He wants to, he wants the Alouettes and the Grey Cup champion Alouettes to be in that same breath as the Montreal Canadiens and all these other sporting legends here in the 514. If he can go on a run, if he can live up to the hype, which he's been doing so far, quite frankly, he's been doing it majestically. If he can continue this with a Grey Cup run of his own, have his own, playoff moments of brilliance, going all the way to and even winning the Grey Cup, that's what he's looking for. And there's, again, no question in my mind, he's going to do everything possible to get that dub on Saturday. He's going to do what it takes. He's not leaving anything out. He's putting it all out there. He's going to empty the clip. He's going to do whatever it takes to get that W. And his teammates are going to do everything they can to help him get that W. It is going to be a fun game on Saturday, folks. If you're not going to be at this, go ahead.
I'll say my one thought, something that the Alouettes have not been able to do very much over the past 3 seasons, was really the 2 seasons they did very well in their last no, the year prior to winning the Grey Cup. They need to set the stage for this game. They need to come out and they need an opening drive touchdown. Set the stage. No, as much as we love Jose Maltos, Diaz, we need an opening drive touchdown. Smack him in the face. That's what we need to do.
And that's what championship teams do. They're the ones that are setting the tone. They don't sit around and wait for something to happen. They go out and they take it. And there's no question in my mind, Davis Alexander has that, that personality, that type A personality that is just he's not going to wait for something to happen. He's going to go out and do it. And you better be, if you're not with him, you're against him. And you don't want to be against him. Not in this case. Like he's motivated. He's prepared. He wants to showcase what he can do. And there is no question in my mind, Saturday, you're going to see that. And if Winnipeg's not ready for that, well, that dream of going to play in the Grey Cup in their own stadium, even if it's in the visitor locker room that they end up in, that's going to be a very, very short dream, unfortunately, for the Winnipeg faithful. But it is going to be a fun game no matter what. I'm truly looking forward to it. And it's playoff time, folks. It's win or go home, or in Montreal's case, stay home. But I don't think that's going to happen. I truly think this Alouettes team is built for moments like this, and I just don't see them disappointing. I don't see them welcoming close to 23,000 fans at Percival Molson Stadium and sending them home unhappy. I just don't see that happening.
We follow all of our socials for any information that comes out, including the depth charts on Friday. Also, make sure, again, go to YouTube and make sure you hit the bell, your notifications, and turn them on so you know that when Flightdeck Live will be live on Saturday following the game, win, lose, or draw, and you'll be able to hear our thoughts on the game that it has just occurred. And given that the game, give or take, I would say 3 hours, starts at 2, anywhere between, I would say, between 5 and 6. So stay tuned for Flightdeck Live, and you'll be able to hear our thoughts.
Just want to correct you there. There won't be a draw.
Oh, well, no, but
You know, it's a turn of phrase, but I don't want to
I
be that
know.
guy, but I got to be that guy at this point because
Guy.
there
I get it.
there will not there will not be a tie, folks. I promise you.
No, there will not. So win or lose.
Win or
So
lose.
again, and if we don't happen to see you Flight Deck Live, we'll see you next week on the show. Hopefully, being able to talk about the next matchup versus Hamilton in the East semifinals. So
East
we'll
final.
talk to you. Sorry, thank you. We I'm hyped. So we
You
will
are.
we'll talk. Yes, so we will talk to you guys then. So for the last time here at the Alouettes Flight Deck for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. Run final approach.